Life is all about perception. And when it comes to branding and marketing, we epitomize the notion that our perception is our reality. We spend most of our waking moments promoting our success, yet we spend little to no time promoting the lessons that we have learned from our failures. Now, there are so many reasons why we should strictly focus on our accomplishments, but I would like to provide a different perspective. In 1954, a social psychologist by the name of Leon Festinger developed this idea that we define our social, personal, and professional values based on how we stack up against each other. This wonderful idea is entitled the social comparison theory. With the evolution of social media, we tend to compare ourselves with other content creators and other influencers. We tend to use our film and our pictures to demonstrate how perfect our life is. We tend to also compare our vanity metrics, such as the number of followers, likes, comments, shares, and subscribers that we may have, right? And when we look at our profile overall, we look into two different comparisons. The upward comparison is when we look at other influencers and we are motivated by these influencers. These influencers inspire us. These content creators are basically our digital mentors. We love to be in their shoes one day, and we are striving to be in that particular case one day, where we are striving for perfection and we're striving for this influence that another content creator may have. On the upside, we have different components that may lead to the upward social comparison. We're inspired, we're motivated, and we want to encapsulate the idea of we are successful. On the downside, we have this downward social comparison. And it's the converse of the upward social comparison, where we want to compare ourselves to those who are not on our level. We compare ourselves to those who we believe we are better than. They want to be in our shoes one day. And we tend to treat them with, more so of contempt. We tend to feel sorry for them. And it's condescending in a way where we're looking at those who we may think that are not successful as we are. But what we do in advance, we tend to pinpoint our perfection. We keep our profile clean cut. We use filters. We use different angles when we're taking pictures. When we're recording video, we have different takes. We want to make sure that the video is in high quality and that we have this perfect idea, this perfect image of who we are as a person. This leads to my next notion, that perfection is a myth. Ever since elementary school, we have been told that we need to obtain great grades, straight A's. Throughout high school and college, we are told that we must maintain a 4.0 GPA. We must remain undefeated. We must have all the answers. By the age of 25, we must be established. By the age of 30, we must have kids, family, we must have it all. But in reality, we realize that is far from the truth. The questions for the perfectionists in the room is, how can you develop this track record of success if you fail to realize and develop this track record of lessons that you have learned from your failures? See, we are told that we can shoot for the stars. We can aim for the moon. However, what if we're shooting and we're projecting to the sky, but the gun is jammed? What happens from here on out? We feel failure. We basically feel like we failed, and it's a problem here in this case where we don't like to hear about how we failed. We don't like to hear about the struggles and the trials and tribulations that we must obtain to get to where we are today. There's a recent study that was developed, and it was basically the study was basically focused on trying to cultivate this idea, or this reason why people are afraid of failing. And it's interesting. The results suggest that 31% of adults are plagued by a fear of failure. Sounds like a low number, right? It's a low number. 31% is not that much. Further research was done, and it demonstrates that nearly half of adults will be reluctant to go back and basically trace their steps and try to right their wrongs and pursue the same objectives and goals that they failed before. Let's take my situation in this perspective here. Nearly 10 years ago, I was a high school student, and I applied to various universities. My dream school was Columbia University. I always envisioned myself studying at Columbia University, an Ivy League institution, well-established, and I had my goals and careers planned. By the age of 20, I should be a sophomore at Columbia University. By the age of 22, I should graduate. I should go on, get my master's, get my PhD, and all of a sudden have this successful life. I applied to Columbia University and 50 other schools. I obtained great acceptance letters from other schools, but I'm not focused on, all the other schools that I'm applying to. Those are my backup. My main focus is Columbia University. And one day, in March, I'll never forget that day when I had to open up that admission letters, and they told me that I was not cool enough to be a student at Columbia University. It's a rejection letter. I felt ashamed. I felt embarrassed. I remember posting on Facebook at the time. I was posting all of the acceptance letters from all the other universities. I was proud of that. But once I got that rejection letter from Columbia University, I did not post a thing about that situation. Swept it under the rug, move on, and I ended up committing to a university, and I basically pursued my education in that way, not mentioning Columbia University at all, and I figured that this is perfectly fine. 2 years into my undergraduate study, I was studying mathematics. I was good at math, and I believe that I can transition to any field, any industry that I want, whether it's Wall Street, whether it's medicine. I can go and pivot from mathematics to any other industry that I dream of, right? And what happened, my second year as an undergraduate at Queens College, I failed statistics and linear algebra. That 4.0 GPA, that perfection, is basically long gone. And also, my fear of failure was long gone when I received those grades, those Fs. Not Ds, not C minuses, F, I failed. I was on the brink of being dismissed at Queens College. 2.01 GPA. You can imagine. 3 to 4 years later, I am teaching at Columbia University, and I teach statistics. I teach research and frameworks. I'm also teaching at NYU 4 years after I received my offer from Columbia University. I'm also teaching research and frameworks. Now, one may ask me, it's easier for me to talk about my failures given the fact that I was able to rebound and succeed. So they ask me, how do you do it? How are you able to overcome your failures? And it's easy for me to say, just go ahead and do it, pursue your goals, pursue your purpose, do whatever you can, and I'll give you this ideal situation that you can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it. And it's true. It's true. However, I have this different perspective. I think it's important to understand the power of momentum. And in physics, we notice that momentum is basically the mass of motion. And we define momentum as the product of mass times velocity. And when we talk about applying physics, we're basically moving an object or a thing to another object or a thing, and it's going a certain direction. This is how we basically get things going. And every day, popular culture, we establish a momentum by getting up, chipping away at our goals, and doing what we can to exceed our goals and exceed our expectations. So we have to rely on momentum. We receive these advertisements all the time. Just do it. Keep going. Fall down 8 times, get up 9 times. This is basically trying to indoctrinate you to say, okay, you know what? You need to establish this momentum. And once you establish this momentum in successful fashion, whether you are winning or losing, you're still being successful. You're winning or losing, you're still becoming successful by establishing this momentum. You have a chain reaction better known as a domino effect. Now, in this domino effect, we have 3 main principles that I would like to talk about. The first main principle is that rent is due every single day. I would like to believe that everyone who's watching this talk, and everyone who's here, actually watching this talk right here, I believe that you guys are all successful. You guys are all accomplished. You have your accolades, you have your degrees, you have your awards, you have your medals, you have your trophies. You have it all. You are accomplished. You're basically, you've achieved so much up to this point. But I would like to remind you that success is never owned. We can own everything else but success. And in this case, we must understand that our goals and our objectives are our landlords. In this case, we have to understand when we are succeeding, that success can come and go at any given time. We can keep all the trophies, we can keep all the medals, but that success may come and go. Have it all in one day, we lose it all in the next. But your goals and objectives are your landlords, and you must pay off your landlord with your effort. That's your currency. The currency is your effort that you must put every single day. Whether you win or lose, you put forth that effort, you're paying off your landlord, and then you're progressing, you're developing that momentum and that chain reaction from one place to the next. You're getting from point A to point B. That's the first principle. The second principle is direction is much more important than speed. Direction is much more important than speed. Going back to the original formula of momentum, we have the mass times velocity. Mass is one thing, it's an object that we're moving. The velocity, it's a vector quantity. And it encapsulates both the magnitude and direction. Speed does not. Speed is a scalar quantity, and it's only just the magnitude itself. But velocity is very important. Every day, we always hear about those who want to become the first to ever do something, right? The first person to ever accomplish something at this age, the youngest person to accomplish something at this age. And it's important to understand that that mindset is great to have because you're motivated to accomplish something within a certain time. However, most people that are accomplishing something with a set time go nowhere fast. They are going nowhere fast, and in fact, some of them are actually going the opposite direction. As we are encompassing and as we are basically trying to navigate the unknown, we must understand that we need to calibrate or recalibrate our navigation system so that way we're going somewhere in the right direction, and then we can increase our velocity if we feel comfortable to do so. The last principle that we must understand is that we must dream big and think small. Dream big, think small. We can't have a domino effect if we don't have dominoes in succession. Right? And as we are succeeding, we must place a domino in a certain point, so that way, once the domino falls here, we have a great and a perfect picture, so that way, everything is aligned and everything is perfect. We have this perfect picture. Now, when we think of this domino effect, what's important to understand when it comes to navigating the unknown is we must have more questions than answers. We would like to have all the answers in the world. But if you have all the answers in the world, you're taught and you're basically trained to play it safe. If you have more questions than answers, you will always have this form of curiosity. And in this curiosity, you must also determine whether or not you have a complete set of tools, skill sets, and motivation to accomplish something moving forward. I'm not telling you you can't have it all, because you can. If you put your mindset into it, and if you're not afraid of failing, you can have it all. You can have it all, and you can navigate your endeavors based on the lessons that you have learned from both your success and your failures. But the last question that I have for you is, how far are you willing to go to get what you want in your life? Thank you.